Welcome to this Getting Started video covering the installation of ModusToolbox version 3.2. The ModusToolbox suite of tools can be installed using a ModusToolbox Setup tool available on Infineon.com. To download this setup tool, we'll first go to the Infineon.com webpage. From here, along the top navigation, we can go into the Design Support section. And from here we see ModusToolbox listed as the top item within the Development Tools category. The link will take us to the primary ModusToolbox product page that has additional details and documentation downloads related to ModusToolbox, including 2 key actions for downloading the installation guide, as well as a download button for the setup tool. The download link will take us to the Infineon Developer Center, where we can select the specific version for the required operating system. Once the download completes, we can run the executable to install the setup tool on our development machine that will be used to install and manage versions of the ModusToolbox Tools Packages and optional packs. For our installation, we will be using the recommended installation option, installing the setup tool for the current user only. After accepting the required licensing terms, we'll leave the default quick installation selected and click install. After the install completes, we have the option to run the ModusToolbox setup tool and to open the release notes. I'll leave both of these options enabled and click on finish. The release notes provide a few details on the version that we just installed and a few key links that we can reference for additional details. We can close this for now and focus on the actual setup tool for completing the installation of ModusToolbox. At the time of this recording, ModusToolbox version 3.2 is the latest base package available. Placing a check mark next to this version will select it for installation along with any additional packages that are required as a dependency to this base package. Note that the download and installation of ModusToolbox does require that you are registered with Infineon.com and logged in. Selecting Yes will open a browser to finish the login process. Please select Allow on the displayed dialog box to enable the Infineon launch service to permit web login. The resulting screen will allow you to log in using your My Infineon credentials. If you do not already have an account, the dialog will prompt you to create one. After successfully logging in, a success message will be displayed and the resulting tab can be closed. Returning now to the Setup tool, we can confirm that the login was complete. Selecting Next will take us to the screen where we can review the changes being made. On this screen, we have the option to customize the installations of the various tools packages being installed. This includes installing for the current user, the recommended option, or installing for all users. You may also change the installation path. However, please refer to the installation guide if you are making any changes to these options, as there are additional steps required to complete the installation successfully. For this video, I will be sticking with the recommended defaults. Next, we'll accept the package licenses and select Start. At this point, the Setup tool will download all required packages and install them according to the options specified on the previous screen. For the purposes of the installation video, we'll speed up this section. Once complete, we have the option to start the ModusToolbox dashboard application. You will also notice that as the installation is complete, that shortcut icons are added to the desktop. Launch icons are also added within the Start Application menu under ModusToolbox 3.2. I'll select Finish to close the Setup tool and launch directly into the ModusToolbox dashboard. The dashboard provides access to key resources and getting started actions. Within the left panel, we see resource links for documentation, training modules, additional videos, and community forums. including an option to sign up for emails related to the release of new versions of the tools. Within the right panel, we have a few key action items. At the bottom is a quick link to jump back into the setup tool that we just used to install ModusToolbox. And this is an easy way to check for new releases of ModusToolbox. As new versions or additional packages are released, they will be included within these panels. The setup tool will also check for updates to itself and prompt if an update is possible. We can see in the dialog box that we are currently using the latest version. Back on the ModusToolbox dashboard, we can use the top right panel to create a new project for one of the supported IDEs. These include the Eclipse IDE for ModusToolbox that comes bundled with the ModusToolbox installation, or can select Microsoft VS Code, IAR Embedded Workbench, or ARM Keil MDK with Microvision. These IDEs must be installed independently from ModusToolbox. For this video, I will select the Eclipse-based IDE. And depending on which IDE is selected, a specific user guide will be available for using ModusToolbox within that IDE. Using the main action icon here, I will open up the Eclipse IDE for ModusToolbox. And as this is an Eclipse-based IDE, our first option will be to specify the location of our workspace for this session. I'll leave the default and launch the IDE. On first launch of the Eclipse IDE, you will be provided a quick panel with key actions for working with ModusToolbox application. Additionally, you can access ModusToolbox documentation from the Help menu. This includes Eclipse-specific documentation as well as general ModusToolbox documentation. And that's about as much as I'll show in this video in terms of working with ModusToolbox. But there is one additional installation to be aware of. Starting with ModusToolbox version 3.2, Python is no longer included in the installation. And there are a few actions that require use of Python, so it is recommended to ensure that you have a suitable version of Python installed. Currently, ModusToolbox is tested with Python version 3.8.10, but is compatible with versions up to 3.11. For this video, I will select and install Python version 3.11.9. Specifically selecting to download the recommended 64-bit Windows installer. During the installation, it is strongly advised to select the Add Python.exe to Path option. There are options to specify the specific path to Python within the ModusToolbox environment variables for specific use cases. Details on this can be found in the ModusToolbox installation guide and user guide. The last step in this video will be a quick check to confirm that ModusToolbox is able to access the expected version of Python that was just installed. For this, I will open up Modus Shell, a command line console specific to ModusToolbox. Modus Shell can be found in the Windows Start menu under the ModusToolbox 3.2 application folder. Once the console loads the ModusToolbox environment, I can type python --version to confirm that this environment is able to access Python version 3.11.9 that was just installed. And this completes the basic installation of ModusToolbox version 3.2. Thank you for watching.